As Beth stepped out from the safety of her rock, the wind punished her for her confidence. It whipped at her, screaming in her ears. She bowed her head forward and started marching. Giving up would mean returning to the person she had been, the shell of a person she had been. Months trapped in bed, the slow ruin of apathy. She sank to her knee with every step, the snow pooling in to refill any gaps. So much for the leading group blazing a trail. If not for the dark outline of Gary's sled ahead of her, she wouldn't know where to go. She wouldn't know where the trip was. It's a good thing we're still in revision, and also that I'm not at line editing yet, because I really don't know how that sentence should end. Hi, welcome back to my writing channel. My name is Josie, and we are just about to hit the midpoint of my novel. We're in the first round of revisions right now, and so right now I'm focusing on the main character's character arc, as well as just smoothing out a lot of, missing threads. This is a mountaineering revenge thriller novel taking place during this competition where all these different teams are trying to summit first. I'm a little nervous because we are at 48,000 words and I'm still multiple chapters away from hitting the midpoint, so there might be a bit of a pacing issue in the first half of the book, but we'll talk more about that later. And right now I'm just gonna keep trying to figure out this sentence and keep going. I may or may not be making a mistake, so hear me out. I have 4 chapters before I reach the midpoint, and yesterday I went and printed those 4 chapters. It's not too many pages. It's a double-spaced as well, because even though I've been doing all of my editing on my computer at this point, like for these more like big developmental edits, it doesn't really make sense necessarily for me to go in by hand because so much is changing that it's hard to do it on paper. But the reason I decided to do this, even though literally my other strategy works very well, this is likely just going to make it harder for me, is that I am going on a cabin trip this weekend. It's Jonah's birthday, and we are going to be going for 2 nights. And I just have this romanticized vision in my head of being in this small cabin in the snow. I mean, not that I'm not in one already, but just editing. And so I decided to print these out because I really don't know what the plan is going to be. We're leaving tomorrow. I have this, and then I'm also going to be bringing a notebook because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of just straight rewriting. And so I'd rather do that in a notebook and then maybe take notes in this. I really don't know. We're going to have to figure it out. I'm really excited for this cabin trip. It's a 7-mile ski out. I've been there before, and I know it's like a relatively flat trail. Though, if you watched my planning video from about a month ago, we went to a different cabin and we had to cross this lake. And on the way back, the wind was pushing us so hard, it was almost like we were downhill skiing. Like, you didn't need to actually do anything with your poles, you just get carried. But the issue was there was these big patches of ice followed by these almost like little snow dunes. So what would happen is that when you go over a snow dune, as you're coming down, you might accidentally cross, and then as soon as you hit that ice, like, any mistake just gets exacerbated and you like fall. And we were so close to the end. It was 2 miles to get across from the cabin to the other side of the lake that we need to get to. We were maybe like 200 meters from the trailhead when I fell, and my binding on one of my skis just snapped. And so I got my skis replaced because I'm going to need them to get out to this cabin. And I did do a bit of skiing this week to make sure that the bindings are good. I'm happy with them. So yeah, I'm excited for the trip, but I'm a little bit apprehensive for what I'm going to do with this. So let's hope that this works. I mean, I haven't written by hand in a very long time. It's what I used to do when I was like a child, but we'll just see how it goes, and maybe this won't work at all and I'm just setting myself up for failure. We are on our way to the trailhead, and I came up with another strategy to maybe help me with my editing at the cabin, because I was thinking about the fact that if I write everything out by hand, then that means that when I come back home, I'm gonna have to type it all up, and that's gonna take a while. So I've brought my tablet with me, and it's got like a little pen, and you can actually write like on a document, like if you open like Google Docs on the tablet and you write, it'll like automatically transform it into like text in the document. So I think I might try that. But I only got around to charging it this morning while we were packing. So it's at 45%, my tablet. So we'll see if it lasts and if this is a better strategy. So we got a double bunk area, table, I don't know, bench, another sleeping area, little kitchen area. We got a Jonah, and then we got the wood stove, and this is it. I know, it's so cute.
It's very compact.
Yeah. We've gotten the cabin warm, but we're still feeling a little chilled, so I made some hot tea that hopefully will help me warm up. But I was going to start working on my story. So this is the tablet that I have, but I'm going to keep you in suspense a bit longer and myself about whether or not this revision strategy is actually going to work. And I'm actually going to spend the next while reading through the pages that I printed out. So there's 4 chapters here, and I actually got through a few pages of revision last night, and I just want to have a better idea of how I'm leading up to it, because when I first draft, I often feel like scenes are unconnected from one another, or I'm not like ramping stuff up in a gradual way, or I might be, you know, setting something up and then kind of it's back down again before it goes back up. Like, it doesn't feel continuous. So I just want to get a good feel of what's going on, the exact journey of emotions my character is going to go through before they make the decision at the midpoint. And I just want to get more clarity on that. So I'm going to start by reading, and then we'll get to actually trying to do some revisions here. Did it work? Yeah. Oh wait, is it even open? Oh my god. Oh my god. Are you drinking it? Drinking the bubbles? Keep drinking. I have gone through all of the pages that I printed out, and I had a fun little surprise because there's actually 5 chapters, not 4 chapters, because I accidentally named 2 of the chapters like the same number. But I'm feeling really good about the progression of each chapter and how each one blends into the next one, because I really want a chapter to feel the consequences of the previous one, as well as set things up for the next one. And so I feel like I have that flow a lot more, where it's like the main character is trying to do something or they feel a certain way. At the end, they came to this one conclusion, which then sets them up for the next chapter, where they feel a certain way. I feel like I'm kind of stuck on being able to edit the first chapter of this sequence, because I did that at home already, and I don't have that with me, the words that I edited there, because I edited quite a bit. Another thing that I'm struggling with is that there is a flashback scene, or I broke it up into multiple scenes, and then I had it pop in and out based on the current progression of the story, present day. And I've been debating just having the whole flashback together in the first, so chapter 20, the first chapter of this sequence that I'm working on right now. But I don't know, because I don't think when you've got a flashback broken up the way I have, it really should be that each reveal of what's happening next in the flashback should really add to what's happening in the present day. And I don't really think that's happening. I don't think it's like smooth enough. But I also think that that whole sequence is needed for the revelation, or the main character's revelation in that first chapter. So that means I'm taking sections from chapter 21 and 22 and putting it into 20. So it means there's quite a bit of reorganization, which it's making this rewrite on paper or on my tablet that much more complicated. But I think we're going to just make it work. So I think the plan is going to be that I'm not going to include the flashbacks in any of the chapters I'm going to work on. I'm going to leave chapter 20, and I'm going to go back to that when I get home at the end of this cabin weekend. There are a few things I want to tweak, but I'm going to pretend like I've already done that and then move on to chapter 21. Because I've actually brainstormed for, instead of kind of pulling that one flashback and threading it throughout multiple chapters, I've thought of a new flashback to have in chapter 21 and kind of have, so one flashback for 20 and then a completely new one for 21. So that'll involve some writing from scratch. And then I've got even more to think about because I don't have many line breaks in my story. I have mostly just summarizing sentences, paragraphs, transition sentences, paragraphs, connecting different scenes together. But I don't have like those line breaks that you have like in the middle of a chapter when you go between, different scenes. Except for one chapter, somewhere around chapter, like, I think it's like probably 12 or 13, maybe 14, somewhere around there. I've got 2 line breaks in that chapter. And then when I was doing these flashbacks, I gave myself line breaks as the transition. But it's really weird because nowhere else in the story other than these very few chapters do I have line breaks. So now I'm second guessing using line breaks for the flashbacks, and instead I should transition using text into them. Because you're reading a story that hasn't had line breaks the whole time, and then suddenly you get to one in like chapter 20. Like, that is strange. I'm meaning to go back and change the line break issue in that earlier chapter too. So I think I'm just going to stick to not doing it throughout the entire book. But I am happy with this plan, which means I'm going to go ahead and start actually trying to write some stuff out. I mean, we'll see. I'm going to do a little bit tonight, but I don't think I'm really going to take it too seriously. Just test it out because it's getting a little late. I want to read my book a bit before bed, so. Come for a little ski up the ridge from our cabin. You can see we actually skied in yesterday down in that valley. It was kind of crazy how much elevation. And it's taken us quite a bit of time just for this little distance. The trail wasn't packed down up to here, so Jonah did a lot of trail breaking for us, but we're gonna head back, and I think I'm gonna give another stab at doing the editing on my tablet. So it didn't actually go that well yesterday. I'm kind of a little discouraged, but I think it might be more to do with my mindset than the actual like strategy itself. Because I think I'm used to working a lot faster when I'm on my computer because I'm able to just type out the words I'm thinking much quicker than I can handwrite them. So I'm getting frustrated with that. And then if I wrote too fast on my tablet and my handwriting didn't look good, then I had trouble recognizing what the words were, so I was doing a lot of deleting, and I think I just need to do it again and just go slower and be a bit more relaxed and gentle with myself as I'm doing it. So we're not giving up quite yet, but first attempt, not super good. So I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy the view for a little longer before we head back down again.
I think the water's done everything.
I'm gonna start from scratch, I think. Delete everything. No, it just... It's just really frustrating because I feel like it's just not working. I mean, I feel like it only really works when I do it like one word at a time. Like if I'm trying to do a full sentence, it's not happy.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is worth it. But I said I'd try, so I guess I should try.
That keyboard.
I know. I'm just gonna, maybe we should set a timer. Can you set like a 15-minute timer? And if I, by 15 minutes, am still frustrated, I think I'm just gonna write by hand and just do that. Yeah. See, look, it's so weird.
What are these stars?
I don't know. It's just like, this isn't even English. This isn't even a language.
So we have a little bit of catching up to do because it's been a little bit since I've updated you. But I got back from the cabin trip 2 days ago, and then we got back around midday. So we took a really chill evening, and I was so excited to finally have my computer to work with. So I did some editing that night. I went back to that first chapter of this 5-chapter sequence, chapter 20, and I made the changes that I had brainstormed for myself. And then I went into chapter 21 and started to type out what I had handwritten at the cabin. I was feeling pretty good about that, but then yesterday was my full 1 day at home and I got nothing done. I just wasn't feeling it. But then I woke up bright and early this morning, 3 a.m., and I flew here to Sitka, Alaska, where I'm gonna be for the next 3 days, 2 nights for a conference, a mariculture conference. So that's aquatic farming, like kelp and oyster farming. We have a talk tomorrow, but otherwise I'm just chilling, going to poster sessions, going to talks. So we have a bit of a curveball though, because I really thought I had packed my notebook because I hadn't gotten to the end of typing up everything I'd written at the cabin. Turns out I can't find it anywhere, likely don't have it. I'm gonna do one more search before I give up on it completely. We're just coming off to a bit of a rough start, but I'm pretty sure I've also been editing as I've been typing it up, so I have a clear idea of what I'd written, so I'm hoping that now I can just rewrite it, maybe more edited wise. I have a few hours right now where I'm hoping to get some writing done. I would really love to finish chapter 21. Who knows if I'm actually going to be able to do it. At most, I'd like to get just a solid chunk done. I mean, initially I really wanted to get through what I'd written at the cabin, but now I don't have that in front of me either. So I'm having trouble connecting to the hotel's Wi-Fi. So this is forcing me to write because I literally can't do anything else. Things did not go super well yesterday. I just feel like I have this mental block right now, but I forced myself to get to the end of the chapter no matter what. And then immediately I was like, I don't like that. I need to redo the whole thing. And I haven't touched it since. Right now, chapter 21 to me just seems so hard and so difficult, and I just really don't want to do it. But I just took a hot shower because I went for a run to procrastinate writing. And I was just thinking about why I don't want to write it, because there's always a reason. And I'm either tired, I'm either stressed out about something else, or what's usually the case is there's just something wrong with the story. Subconsciously, I know there's something wrong. I don't know how to fix it. So instead of wanting to move on, I just feel stuck, because even though this is the first round of revision, things will improve later on. I really want to make sure that I'm giving my all to each revision. I don't want, to feel like I haven't done as good as I could have. And so during my shower, I was really thinking about why about halfway through the chapter does it just feel so frustrating and I don't know what's happening. And it's because one of the promises made in this story is that we're going to go on this climb, right? We're going to try and get through this tough terrain, get to the summit. And while that needs to be included, it's kind of boring to do that with nothing else going on, And so basically I need to find a way to move the main character's arc along during this scene instead of it just being descriptions of her walking or hiking or the weather or whatever. Like there needs to be something more carrying us through. And so I have an idea for something that I need to build up a little bit more. It's not necessarily in my game plan for what I needed to focus on in this revision, but I think I just need to put it there because or else like this section is not strong at all. There's literally no reason other than I want to show what the journey is like. Making myself a cup of tea. I have a portable kettle I bring with me when I go to hotels, and it like packs down into this, which is really nice because a lot of hotels, you know, they might have a microwave so you can heat up water for tea, which is not my favorite. But like for example, this one doesn't even have a microwave, so I really like to have it. My mom got it for me. I don't know if it was a birthday or a Christmas, but yeah, Mom, I'm actually using it. Just like that, we're back home in Fairbanks, and I feel like I have a bit of a fire under my butt where I want to try and get to the midpoint by the end of the weekend. So it is Friday, about 7 p.m. I'm in a good position because when I was in Sitka in that last day, I was actually able to like really focus. I went back all the way through chapter 21, and I think I did like a page or a page and a half of chapter 22. So we have to finish chapter 22, we have 23, and we have 24. So we have 2.5 chapters, 2 3/4 chapters to go. So I feel like if tonight I can finish the one that I've already started, then I have to do 1 chapter Saturday, 1 chapter Sunday, which doesn't seem too crazy. I usually don't like to try and set myself too many strict goals like that for the revision, but I feel like just for this little stretch, just because I really need to get there, I've been dilly-dallying around because I'm trying to figure stuff out, and at a certain point it's like I've been on this now for I think like a week and a half, and I just need to get there. I just need to push through, and sometimes setting a goal like this is the only way to get it done. It is about 4 o'clock on Saturday, and I haven't gotten any writing done yet today. I was so stoked yesterday about how easily I was able to finish that chapter, but we came out to do some skiing. We're just leaving the hill now, and so we're gonna have a few hours at home before our evening activity. We're going over to a friend's house for a game night. I meant to do a bit of writing this morning before we came to the ski hill, but I just didn't have it in me. I wanted to sleep in, and then by that point we were ready to come. So we're just gonna make do with what we have. I'll try to get to the end of the chapter, but if not, my goal is still to finish both the last 2 chapters by the end of the weekend, so or else I'll have to do some more tomorrow. I have a decision to make. I got through about 2/3 of chapter, whatever it is, I think it's 23, before we went over to our friend's place. And I have, I think, 700 words left in the chapter. But I've been doing a lot of heavy rewriting, and I imagine that 700 words might be more when I actually do finish the chapter, just because I've really underwritten this section. It's hard to gauge exactly how long that's going to take me. It could take me 20 minutes, it could take me an hour, I really don't know. And it's past 10 p.m., so I'm debating going to bed now and waking up early to get started tomorrow, but then I don't know if setting myself up to do more than just 1 chapter tomorrow is feasible, but I just don't have it in me to edit, and I can find reasons to do it or not to do it. For example, like, do I edit now when potentially I'm going to be tired, I'm not going to do as good of a job? Does it really matter? Should I just push through and do it? Because I'm sure if I started, I would be able to get it done. I really don't know, but I'm leaning towards going to bed. With the rewriting I've done so far, I've written, I think, 1,800 words today, which is a lot. It took me like 2 hours. So I have done a lot of work, and yeah, I think I'm just gonna wait till the morning. It's what I want to do. Tomorrow I'll have a lot more time. I'm hoping that I can get more writing sessions in, because I'm not really good at working for a long time in one go, like for many, many hours. But if, like, when I wake up, I can get myself to do a session, finish out maybe this chapter, and then later in the day I can do another writing session, and, and break it up throughout the day, it doesn't feel quite as overwhelming as trying to do it all in one go. So hopefully I can actually get all that done tomorrow and I'm not just loading my plate up, but I think it's the right decision for me right now. I'm feeling tired. The skiing today really took a lot out of me. I'm not the most proficient skier out there, and I don't do enough skiing in a season to really get used to it. So I feel like every time I go, it's like a learning curve of how do I do this, and like 1 or 2 runs down I feel a lot better. But I think what I am going to do though to help myself out for tomorrow is I'm going to make sure I actually go to sleep like soon, and I don't just like waste a few hours on my phone, which will make me sleep in and take away from writing time. That trade-off I think is making it a little easier to stop the writing here for now. I have just made my cup of tea and I'm not going to dilly-dally. We're just going to get right into writing, or finishing to edit the chapter 23, I think, so we can get back to on track with finishing the rest before the midpoint today. This section has definitely been a bit more challenging. There's been a lot of rewriting, rearranging that I've had to do, which is why I think it's taking me a bit longer to get through it. And it's also, I'm kind of going back to that drafting mindset of just the fundamental, like, what is happening in the story? Does it make sense to connect these scenes this way? What happens next? What's the logical flow? As well as the quality of the writing in this section, because I'm kind of doing so much new writing to begin with. It's definitely not up to par with everything that came before it. So it's making me think that maybe I should go back and do a rewrite before calling draft 2 complete. But I think for now I really need to keep up this momentum and keep moving. So I finished chapter 23, which was great, and I even went into chapter 24 just a little bit, because I often find it easier to set up the next chapter while I'm still thinking about the previous one, to make sure that they're connecting and you're not recapping, but if like the reader takes a natural break at that chapter, making sure that they get a little bit of a hint, a reminder of what happened before. I'm going to take a break. We are about to go out to do some ice fishing, which will be really fun, and hopefully this evening I can get back to it and we can get to the midpoint. We are so close. I haven't really had much luck with the fish today, so I figured now's as good time as any to chat about word count, because I'm almost halfway through my story and my word count is a lot higher than I would want it to be. So I think now I'm at 56,000 words. Now we still have one more chapter to go, which will probably add like another 2,000. And I would really love for my midpoint to happen at like 40,000 words, just because like traditionally your midpoint is in the middle of your story, right? So wherever you are at the midpoint, your story should be double that. And I don't know if my story is going to be double 56 or 58,000 words, like is it going to be over 100,000? Because I really did underwrite the latter half of my story in the first draft. And I think my midpoint happened around 2/3 through the story for that. And just for context too, I think I've added about 8,000 or 9,000 words to the second draft to where I'm at. So like, for example, in the first draft, my midpoint would have been around like just around 50,000, but instead it's like 8,000 words longer. I haven't decided quite yet if this is a big enough issue to do something about, because I really wanted this draft to be all about major developmental changes. But at the same time, if I have to go back and remove stuff from this first half, and I'm thinking mostly about the first act, because I think the first half of Act 2 that leads up to the midpoint is really strong, and I really don't see anything that could be removed. But even from the first act, I'm really not sure what could be removed. Like, I feel like all the things that are there need to happen for context for other stuff. And if I start taking things out, it just kind of unravels a whole bunch of new problems. Like, all this is based off of like traditional 3-act story structure, Western style, highly outlined stories. And so is it okay for my story to have a midpoint maybe later than the actual midpoint? Or again, if it is a true midpoint and my story ends up being like 110,000 words, is that too long? Because then it comes back to like genre expectations. Because I'm writing a thriller, this like adventure thriller, and those novels I think tend to land somewhere around 70 to 90,000 words. So if my story is really long, is it because it's dragging somewhere? Is it because it actually needs that much word count? And even if it needs that much word count, is it okay for the genre that I'm working in right now? I don't mind reading long books, but I don't know if people that are reading, these thrillers and expecting certain stuff are going to be like, what is this? Why isn't it, like so much shorter? And is it the case that like the middle of the story or some part of the story just drags and I'm going to lose momentum and lose people's interest at a certain point? Yeah, I really don't know what the answer is. I personally like the story the way it is. I enjoy all the scenes that happen. I'm excited for each one when it comes up for reading back through and revising it. So I don't know how much of a gauge that is. If I go back and actually try and do anything right now, I feel like it'll just halt my momentum, probably make me really frustrated because I won't know what's going on. So the only real solution is just to get to the midpoint, move past, honestly finish the draft, and then do a solid reread, maybe give it to someone to read and have their gauge on it. Because another thing I'm considering is like I'm viewing the midpoint as the midpoint, but it's just because it's like a turning point in the story. But is there another beat earlier that could be the midpoint? And if so, like, do I have to emphasize it instead and then shift how I'm thinking about it? Because I have to say, like, I do follow the 3-act story structure. I do try and follow that. I feel like at the same time, a lot of times I have to take my story and almost like force it into the 3-act story structure. And like the beats don't often land exactly at the right spots. And I'm more like, oh, this is a cool scene. This could be the midpoint. This could be, the first plot point. This could be the break into Act 2, break into Act 3. And I'm almost like morphing the 3-act story structure based on what I want to have happen rather than decide what happens based on following the 3-act story structure. And I think too, like with the other thrillers that I've written before this, I haven't really been paying too much attention to that kind of stuff just because I'm like, I'm writing this for me, I'm enjoying it, whatever. But now that I'm thinking about like once I finish my PhD actually being able to publish and putting all this stuff out, it's like I'm like so much near, so I feel like I'm starting to overthink a lot more how these things are happening. But yeah, for now I'm keeping it in the back of my head. I'm not going to try and force myself to match the same word count for the second half. The second half turns out to be, half the length or 2/3 of the length, so be it. And we'll just do in draft 3, we'll just have to really think about how all of that works. I'm back in my gray hoodie, so it's time to write. So we're just going to sit down. And I'm hoping to honestly crank through this in one go. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I'm just going to sit here until it's done. And just like that, we hit the midpoint. I think it's like maybe 6:30, so I still have so much evening left, and I'm already done. I expected this to take me a while, but it went by really fast because I actually ended up keeping a lot of what was in the first draft. And I thought I'd have a lot more rewriting, but I liked what I wrote. I have ideas for sections that I have already written in the first draft, and I don't want to go back and like lose my momentum. I'll just go back and in bold write a few ideas down, like a few sentences, and put them in like square brackets. And I had one of those in this chapter, and I was trying for a while to figure out like how I was supposed to incorporate. Like I understand what I'd written, but I didn't know how I want it to be implemented, and I didn't really get why I had to change it to that. So I debated for a while trying to do what was said, but then I ended up just going without it, and I'm going with what I had before because I think they both work, so it's probably just some thought I had. And that's why it's almost sucks when I don't let myself do stuff like that, because I feel like if I'd actually gone in and implemented it when I had the idea and I knew exactly what I wanted there, it would have been good. But just because like I literally don't know what the purpose of it would have been or how it would have changed stuff, It was a chapter that was literally like the moment my character made this pivotal decision, and then from here on out is the fallout of that, as well as, you know, going through the rest of Act 2. Another drawback of kind of giving myself these goals where I want to do like 1 chapter a day, I wanted to finish by the end of the weekend, is now that I have gotten to the end of this chapter, I don't really want to keep working tonight, because it's almost like I've set myself that goal, almost like that homework, and once I've achieved it, I don't really feel like going further. So I set myself up for the beginning of the next chapter, because I've actually, to make it more of a cliffhanger at the end of this chapter, I've like moved some information to the start of the next one. But otherwise, I think I'm just gonna leave it and just take the evening to chill, because it's been a packed weekend with skiing, ice fishing, and all this writing. And I think I just want to veg out and not really think too much. And starting tomorrow, maybe we'll get back into it and keep working on post midpoint. I know that I've been a little bit back and forth about whether or not this is the true midpoint of the story, but no matter what, I'm at least halfway, if not over halfway, through the revision. And I feel like this is one of the fastest revisions I've had. And I think too, especially once I get to the end, I'm going to be moving a lot faster, because it's just so much more exciting and there's so much going on. But yeah, we're only halfway, so we gotta keep moving, we gotta keep chugging along. So I will catch you next time when we start working on Act 2, Part 2.